Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine, the Rustic log cabin in Northern Maine. Get yourself a cup of coffee. If you've been following along the Rifleman's series, this is the little mold that we restored last Wednesday. So what I did with it, I went down and I poured, if you can see, I poured about 300 bullets yesterday with about 4 or 5 different molds. These are all 38s for my 357 and 38, and these are for the 223. I poured 100 of these beautiful little 44 grain bullets. I just absolutely love them. They came out perfect. That mold does a really nice job, and so does the mold that created these. These are 154 grains. They're absolutely perfect. But with the little mold that we rebuilt last week, we need to polish the inside. So this is part 3 of reconditioning this old mold. When I bought it, if you remember, it was in pretty rough shape. It was completely rusty. One of the comments came in from Edmund. He asked what made it, I forget word for word what he said, but what made it such a bad mold. The problem was rust. All the way around it, also inside of the cavity was rust. So, but now the thing looks like brand new. Like I said, I poured with it yesterday, just enough to get, number one, to see how the bullet was, and also just to see how bad the interior was. Well, it was pretty bad. All the bullets that this particular mold did was, I mean, they're usable, but they can be a whole lot better. So what I'm going to do now is we're gonna show you how to recondition the interior of this bullet mold. And as usual, we are going to use household products. Now, there's probably 100 different ways to accomplish this job, but I think that we're in a world of crap as far as the way the country is. So I think that being able to use household items might be the more not only economical way to go, but also that you can get your hands on supplies. Now, what's in here? This is nothing more than kitchen baking soda. Now, you can also use toothpaste that has a little bit of grit to it. So all I'm going to do is I'm making a paste. That right there is about a good healthy teaspoon of baking soda. Now, I'm going to use mineral spirits. Like I said, there's probably a whole bunch of things, right down to even just using water. But I use mineral spirits to clean my molds and the starting process of getting the rust off things. And what I've got in here is just a really loose baking soda. So what we want to do first, before we get started, the reason I poured bullets yesterday was because all the stuff on the table I need. The reason I poured bullets yesterday is because I need a bullet. Now, very carefully, we're going to put this bullet back inside of this mold, just for now. Now, you want to be very careful to go down straight and not too deep, because you don't want to hit the bullet, hit the mold itself. There, you see that? Now we got a screw in the top of that bullet, and you can save this. Now, there's 2 things that we're doing by polishing this. Is when you polish it, number one, you clean up all the rust that was in there. And the reason we're doing that is because this was a rusty mold. But when you polish it, it'll take off, it won't hurt the edges of your bullet, but if there's any burrs in there, it'll get rid of those burrs. You just squeeze it just enough to get it. You don't want it to go through, but you want it to squeeze. And that's all. Keep it lubricated. Now I've taken this apart so I can go in. This is nothing more than mineral spirits. I've taken this apart so I can go in and clean out my bullet mold and see how we're doing. Now I'm going to finish up with a little bit of toothpaste. Where'd my bullet go? Here's my bullet. Alright, so what I've done is I've come back to my bullet mold. I have a household product here. Spirits, gum remover, like we talked about earlier in this video. With gun supplies being so expensive, there's a lot of household products that we can buy at the hardware store or at an automotive store and accomplish the same thing and buy larger quantities. You know, like this mineral spirits over here. It works a lot like hops number 9. I use it for especially cleaning bullet molds. Now, look at that. That looks absolutely beautiful in there. Nice and shiny. Have a cup of coffee with me. Well, let's put this together. What do you guys want to hang around, put this together? Well, you probably ought to. And the reason you ought to is because this is chainsaw oil. Mixing chainsaw oil. Same thing. Get it at the hardware store, get it at the saw shop, get it anywhere you want to. Now what you want to do with that, same thing on a Q-tip or whatever. I'm going to put it on a Q-tip because I don't have it in a squeeze bottle. It's a hotter burning oil. So what you want to do when you're putting these molds back together is put it around these things. Wow, that didn't work very good. Now that'll work. Use this up here in the your bullet molds. That way it takes it's a hotter oil. You don't want these things ever season up on you. What I'm going to do this time is just drop it down in the hole. There's a hole down in here. That's the only place where there's threads. So when you put these things back together, that bolt won't seize up on you. I'm going to keep this series going. It won't have a new video every week, but every once in a while, check back in. Whenever I'm dealing with the bullets and rifles and all that, we will be putting them under the Rifleman. Because if you're going to own guns, a gun without a bullet is just a paperweight.